This video is for Dave, who asked me how I would interpret John 3:16. My name is Dan Paulson, so let's just jump into that. I'm going to get into the book of John here. I've got it on my desktop, and let's just go right into it. We've got the King James Version right here. And I'm going to start right off the bat with doing a couple of things that are, these are my own things. Nobody else can do this. What I'm going to do is find word code in here. Do you see right here where it says, in the very first line, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was God. Word is repeated 3 times right there. That's meaningful to me. I'm going to pull these numbers. What I'm going to do is pull up a set of numbers here that, Dave, you're familiar with them, and other people that follow my work. This is the group of analogs that are gathered up in Genesis. This is a background code that's being used through all of Abrahamic material that people can't see. This set of numbers has been gathered up in, well, it's where the Adam analog farm is. There's going to be the people that live 940 and 7 and 3, and you start looking and seeing that there's numbers there that are going to become very repetitive numbers. The 900s don't look okay. It's like, what is that? But then you realize, well, 900 has been repeated 7 times. 7 it's being used to act like a 7 to continue to gather up other numbers. So it's thick, deep ways of encoding, gathering up numbers that are being used in the background to continually repeat something, but also to maintain the stories as they're being created on a structure that keeps them very tight. What I'm going to do is take these numbers right here, and I'm going to go to John. Remember, those numbers were developed in where? In Genesis. They're far upstream. But I'm going to see that word, and word right there. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to search the book of John, word. Word comes up 43 times. Now, in this group over here, we can take the 40 and we can take the 3 and we can combine them. So 43 becomes a good number. Maybe it doesn't mean much yet. It just sounds like an accident, doesn't it? How about the beginning? Beginning is said right here and right down here in verse 2, and the beginning was God. So beginning is repeated right off the bat. That's going to be another code. Exactly 10 times. We see that it's on our list. The beginning is going to be a pure thing. We're starting off in the beginning hitting pure sort of things. And these are just number repeats. These don't mean anything yet. That's fine. What do we have for light? Look, light of men. Light. Exactly 25 times. We've got a 20 and we've got a 5, so we're good. I'm going to do some things here like, what do we have? The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Remember, Word was 43. That's good. What is flesh? Well, that's exactly 13 times. Flesh is not a good thing. Does that make sense? We're looking at that 13, the 12, the 13. Okay, people that have been following, it gets a little bit deep. Pilate is the one who had Jesus put to death. 21 times. That's interesting, isn't it? Is Pilate a bad thing? Yeah, Pilate's a bad thing. What if we went back to Genesis here for a second and looked at Sodom? Is Sodom a bad thing? We saw that it was already on the list down there, but we see it's 21. All right, so if we were to continue doing this, it's going to just continue to show us the weight of the analogs. There's a code in the background, and those numbers are going to give us values as well as sequences. It just gets very deep. We don't know this stuff well enough. But I can look at this right off the bat and say, okay, the book of John is very, very much fitting into the numbering grid, the 3-7 grid structuring criteria, utilizing the same numbers that started all the way back in Genesis. They were in Genesis. They actually are also in Babylonian creation. All right, let's go back to John, because there's something up here that I just laser right in on. It just makes sense to me. Verse 14, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. What is the Word? What is it being made flesh? And what is it dwelling among us? Let's explore. What's becoming a favorite technique of mine is to show parallel teachings that are held in different verbiage that might be a little easier to understand or a little easier to kind of unwrap from. Christian material, we can get so caught up into it, it's hard to climb down from what we believe and find the simplicity in it. It becomes so intensely emotional for control and things like that. So yeah, we get caught up in it. We got to understand it's teaching something simple. All right, so there's a couple of things here. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The eternal Tao is the Tao that is taken. It's a mental path. A Jesus parallel is when the blind lead the blind, they will both fall into the pit. It's a personal path. You don't listen to people tell you how to heal. It's a personal path. Who gets in your head? The name that can be named is not the eternal name. We want to remain devoid of things. We're empty as children. This is like naked, unashamed in the Garden of Eden. The unnameable is the eternally real. There we are. We haven't stepped off into first sin. Here is first sin. Naming is the origin of all particular things. What this really means is that we're growing up in life. We're a mental product of our life experiences, and whatever we name as our life experiences and classify through memory and emotions is the origin of that. Our memories are what we are. Another translation says the named is the mother of 10,000 things. So it's a large number. Now, free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. How this translates is this way. The desire is in the mind. It's a mental state, remember. It's not physical desire. It is something that is held at a deeper layer. Therefore, we must treat these words as analogs. Desire, mystery, manifestations, they don't mean exactly what they sound like. They're going to have a different layered meaning. They're going to have a psychological meaning that we must glean by just figuring out in our mind. So right up here, naming is the origin of all particular things. What have we done? We've named things. If we're holding on to things, that doesn't mean we want them. That doesn't mean we desire them. It means we're holding on to them. It might mean something. It might be shame, hatred, anger, something somehow, and we're holding on to it. If we're free of that, we realize the mystery of life, the freedom of life. However, caught in those things, we see only the manifestations. We see them over and over again. This is like a cyclical teaching here, that what you're hanging on to, what you're anchored to, continues to repeat. Does that make sense? If you look at your own life, I just have to look at it and say, what bugs me? It's this that comes out, this that acts out. It's something here that I believe or something somehow. You have to put yourself into this if you want to make it yours, if you want to interact with it. Now, if we go back to John, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Does that sound like anything? The Word was made flesh. All right, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to temporarily copy and paste. Let's see, I'll keep source formatting. There we go. This is from, oh boy, let me straighten it out. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. This is what we're looking for right here. What is this? I'll bring it down here too. Make it easier to delete this out. I'll have to clean this copy up. Okay, the Word was made flesh and dwelt amongst. The Word was made flesh. Naming is the origin of all particular things. And dwelt among us. Caught in desire. You see only the manifestations. There, and the Word was made flesh. The Word, that's what word. That's what I say. Naming is the origin. I gave it the Word. And it becomes flesh. It becomes manifest. It dwells among me. We see only the manifestations. See how clever that is? Okay. All right. So I'm totally satisfied this is a common teaching. I am absolutely certain. I find chunks in here that go, yep, there it is. Bingo. I see that. You get familiar enough with it, it just pops out at you like that. In fact, what we're seeing here is the agreements, Don Miguel's. This is the decisions. These are our memories, and it'll go on and tell you other things, good, bad, or whatnot. Now, in the case of John is a monomyth, but this is an interesting one. This one is different in this way. John and Jesus are both parts of us. If the entire thing plays out, John is an early part of us, but who is John? John in this case isn't somebody that goes off and lives unaware until he needs to be destroyed. John is somebody who lives by the Word of God until it's time to turn inward. So John is, interestingly enough, John on this template represents the person that is standing outside the narrow gate. And then Jesus, when he's baptized, enters the narrow gate right there. And you know that means we transition from John to Jesus at that point. You're living as a Christian, perhaps, going, I am, it's like I said, it's a little bit different. It's a special one. And that's why John has to be killed off, head cut off. That's your old belief. That's the old self. In fact, I think once somebody points it out to you, it's kind of easy to see a repeating motif right here where we've got Moses crosses the Red Sea, escaping Pharaoh, leaving Pharaoh behind, and spends 40 years in the desert. Jesus crosses the baptismal, leaving John the Baptist behind, and spends 40 days in the wilderness. Those are cleverly disguised repeating motifs. They're different in magnitude by huge amounts. We have to understand that you could take a simple concept and make a simple story or make a huge story. And that's what we're seeing here. You got to step back from it. Okay, please understand I'm not stalling. What I'm doing is setting something up here. You can see that I've got this unwrapped in a way that I'm going to be approaching when I get to John 3:16. Here's where we're going with it. And I need to be clear here that there's a point where there is no worshiping of anything going on. There is simply dedicated interaction with the material upon interpretation and finding that there's a self-inward path. It is not worshiping Jesus at all. It is following the teaching that has been laid out in cryptic manner. All right, getting back into John then, I just went and reviewed it real quick. It's been a while since I've done it. There's a Pharisee named Nicodemus, ruler of the Jews. Look at that right there, Nicodemus, ruler of the Jews. Jesus is telling him that you must be born again to enter the kingdom of God. And Nicodemus is asking him, how can that happen? Can you enter the womb the second time? And Jesus tells him, no, you got to be born of water and of spirit. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the spirit is spirit. So this is not a flesh teaching, it's a spiritual teaching. Okay. He says, marvel not that I said unto you that you must be born again. Don't worry about the fact that I said you must be born again. The wind blows where it blows, and you hear the sound thereof, but you can't tell where it comes and where it goes. So is every one that is born of the Spirit. So that's the mystery of life. Yeah. Nicodemus answered and said, how can these things be? And Jesus said unto him, aren't you a master of Israel and you don't know these things? Anyway, okay, goes along, and we get down here to the actual verse we're looking for. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. What are these? It's a mental hierarchy plays out in the mind. God, the higher awareness, so loved the world. How's your life? You sit back with your higher awareness and just have a good time. You're not listening. You're not thinking about the past. You forget all about your fears. You're living in the moment. You're loving the world. Anyway, he gave his only begotten Son. That's the called person right there. That's the individual that's going to go, yeah, I'm going to turn inward and do some healing. That whosoever believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Okay, so we're getting ready to, we need to go through this spiritual healing up here. That's what this is set up here. And that not only, this isn't enough. It's not enough just to connect with the Son and the God. We have to start doing some healing. This is right here in the beginning, but this is telling us to connect up with the higher awareness. This is in the beginning of a monomyth where God returns. This is the admonition to, like when Eckhart Tolle says, I'm having that argument at night. How can I live with myself? And then he's wondering, who is it in here that's asking that damn question? There's something in here that's different than my memories. That's it right there. You need to connect those two up. We don't do it. We learn to live through our memories, and at some point you have to go, oh, I got it. Now I have to stop living through those and go back to the higher awareness. This is where, on the monomyth, God is going to return. You have to reconnect with the higher self. Okay, so that's it. That you will have everlasting life, spiritual life. This is now. I don't have these copied down anywhere, but I'm going to read something from the Dhammapada right here. This is from chapter 3, Thought. I'm going to read through some verses. This is exactly what they're talking about right there. As a fletcher makes straight his arrow, a wise man makes straight his trembling and unsteady thought, which is difficult to guard, difficult to hold back. As a fish taken from his watery home and thrown on the dry ground, our thoughts tremble all over in order to escape the dominion of Mara, the tempter. It is good to tame the mind, which is difficult to hold in, and flighty, rushing wherever it listeth. A tamed mind brings happiness. Let the wise man guard his thoughts, for they are difficult to perceive, very artful, and they rush wherever they list. Thoughts well guarded bring happiness. Those who bridle their mind, which travels far, moves about alone, as without a body, and hides in the chamber of the heart, will be free from the bonds of Mara, the tempter. Does that sound familiar, but in a different genre? Let's go back to... All right, so what it says here, though, is, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved." So we're there to resolve this inner conflict. He that believeth on him is not condemned. Instead of being condemned is living through the memories. But he that believeth is not condemned already, because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. Okay, that was kind of thick to unwrap from. What you do is you have to understand that you are not your memories, and to not live through the memories, even though we get practiced experiencing that, feeling them, and reliving them over and over again. You have to stop, pick your head up, and go, damn it, I'm doing this again. I'm caught in that. I'm reliving the memories I'm recycling the memories instead of guiding my life. That is what becomes important. So this is where Buddha is teaching, you got to control your thoughts. Pay attention to your thoughts. When you sit there and realize, God, I just bounce it. You catch yourself doing it more and more and move to the higher awareness. That's important. Okay, that's the teaching as I see it. Upon editing, I thought it would be good to add this in right at the end. I've just put it in my own verbiage. Here's the original. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." I would change that to interactive mentally. Higher awareness. Each of us has a higher awareness that seeks a happy life, and a few will find their way, as the begotten or the few, also known as elect or the hero. You must maintain conscious awareness through the higher self for your life of joy. It doesn't say don't live through the memories. It says stay connected to this. Buddha tells you to control your thoughts. Stay here. Don't live through your memories. I shut that off. Okay, hope that was helpful. Take care.